Welcome back to AutoScoop with Adam Goldfine and Joyce Littell.
Welcome back. Definitely give us a call, 404-607-1407. When he mentioned, and you mentioned medical expenses, lost wages, what did you call that?
Remedies.
Remedies. And
Remedies.
one that you mentioned going out on the break. I can't wait to hear about that.
You could do a whole sex show on that one. But the reality is that the law, and jump in, okay, as you want, tries to put you back and make you whole.
Right.
Okay, tries to fill the void in economic terms, even though it can't. And you know, during the break, I asked Richard. I said, look, can I ask you about the cost of fingers and digits and hands? Now, you may look at me like I'm crazy, but he knows as we're talking. It's like, look, in workers' comp, there's a schedule for your hand is worth so much, your arm is worth so much, your leg is worth so much. If you, God forbid, get in an accident, remember we had that caller on the show, the woman who lost her leg in a motorcycle accident?
Right.
Her leg, based on her life, her age, her employment, had a value.
Right.
And that's one of the things that you do is try to get as much as possible, not only in medical, but in the value of the, of the harm done to the individual.
The only remedy, in a courtroom, or if you're trying to settle a case, the only thing they can do is assign a monetary value, money. Now that isn't going to, most people who are seriously injured and lose an arm or a leg or can't go back to work for the rest of their life, that money isn't going to replace it. They'd much rather have their healthy body back. But in personal injury, it is very different because the value is going to be based on the facts of that individual's life. If someone is a concert pianist and they lose fingers, I mean, that's going to be devastating to their career, and that would be worth a lot more money than someone who is on a construction site where it might not affect their ability to work. So every case, and that's the reason why hiring an attorney is needed, because there isn't a book to look in to say, oh, let's see what a finger's worth or what an arm's worth. Every case is different, and every case has to be evaluated with all the facts of that particular's life and how it's been impacted.
But how do you go for workman's compensation if you were injured in an accident on your leisure? Can you apply for that?
If on your leisure, no.
Right.
You're going to need to be,
okay.
The statute says it has to be an injury by accident arising out of and in the course of your employment. So you're going to have to be basically on the job doing something for the benefit of the employer when you're hurt. If you're off running an errand for yourself, that's not going to be a workers' comp.
So let's break it down for people so they know. If they're commuting to work, no workers' comp.
No workers' comp until they actually get to the company parking lot. Then ingress and egress, if you're entering the building or leaving the building, oftentimes that can be a valid claim.
I got to run out to work to eat some lunch in my own car. Workers' comp or no?
That would not be a workers' comp claim.
I got to go out to lunch in my own car, but I have to pick up something for the boss, and I get in an accident going to get that errand.
That would be a workers' compensation claim because you're doing something for the benefit of your employer, and it could possibly be a personal injury case as well. And the facts that control that would be who was at fault in the accident. Even if you're involved in an accident, if you're at fault, then you still have a workers' comp claim if you're in a company vehicle or doing something for the benefit of the employer. But if the other person's at fault, then you literally have a workers' comp claim for your on-the-job injury, and you've got a separate personal injury claim against the negligent driver.
Does one remedy, push against the other? Do they cancel each other out?
To some extent, they do. I mean, it's important to pursue both, but you're correct. There's what's called a subrogation claim. If whatever workers' compensation pays, whether it's for medical bills, and if that's the case, it's going to be with workers' comp approved doctors, or whether it's income benefits, which is the benefits that compensate you for your lost wages, or your permanent partial disability benefits, which is the benefit for your loss of use of your body. All of those payouts are going to be things that they're going to try to get paid back on in what's called a subrogation claim. Now, there are a lot of laws, and one of the things attorneys can do is negotiate that down where it isn't dollar for dollar, because otherwise it would certainly eat up most of the personal injury case. Now, there is another element of damages in personal injury that's pain and suffering, and that is not something that workers' comp covers, so there wouldn't be any offset on that.
Right. And God forbid you're involved in an accident. God forbid you're critically injured. I mean, it is so important to talk to an attorney because you could end up settling and not realize that you've settled either by your statements or the acceptance of a check or, what do you do?
And there are, I get calls every single day where, you know, someone's told me the adjuster's already offered me $500 at the scene or shortly thereafter to settle the personal injury claim. Well, at that point, if an insurance company can get it settled at that point, they're not going to be on the hook for the future. That all of a sudden you've signed away your rights to your future medical expenses, which at that early stage, you don't know what that number is going to be. That could be a huge number. So that could be a terrible mistake if you sign away your rights and settle for $500. But the insurance
have you ever
company loves to do
done
that.
multi-million-dollar cases? You ever done $1 million case?
I have, yeah. I actually have gotten a $2.5 million case, and I've gotten a $1 million case. And the $1 million case was actually involving a refrigerator that fell on a lady in her own kitchen.
See that? Tell Jay not to put the apples on top of the fridge, in the bottom. Otherwise, the fridge is unstable. But it raises so many interesting things, doesn't it?
When you're dealing with the workers' compensation and the medical expenses, is it hard to do in dealing with the insurance companies and proving this has, not occurred, but the amount that you're going for? Is it hard?
On personal injury or workers' comp or both?
Either one.
All right. On workers' compensation, everything is controlled by the state statute. And you have to, basically every employer is going to have a posted panel of physicians, and you're going to be required to pick a doctor on that list. There's a fee schedule in workers' comp that's going to dictate what the doctor can be paid for his treatment. So that's a very controlled type claim. Now in that claim, workers' comp is literally paying for the medical treatment as you get it. Personal injury is different. On that, I get calls from people and they're like, do I use my health insurance or do I use my med pay coverage?
Well, that is a great question. Let's make sure we get into that and see where the coverages lapse, what your responsibilities are when we come back. Don't go anywhere. We got a whole bunch more questions for Mr. Griffin and your questions as well.
Welcome back to AutoScoop with Adam Goldfine and Joyce Littell.
There's definitely some viewers, Adam and Richard, who want to talk to you. I'm sure this has sparked a lot of questions from them as well as us. So let's go to the phone lines and talk to Dee. She's calling out of Conyers. Thanks for checking in, Dee. What's your question? Hello, Dee?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Am I just telling my story?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. I'm calling regarding my father, and he was involved in a car accident on September 28th, so it was a little while ago. But he was traveling northbound on Panola Road in Ellenwood, Georgia, and he saw a stalled. It was dusk, and he saw a stalled car in his lane of traffic. Well, he hit his brakes, and he couldn't stop, and he realized that he was going to hit this car, so he swerved to avoid hitting the stalled car. Well, when he swerved, he hit a drain pipe, his truck was airborne, and he ended up hitting a parked car in a private driveway.
Oh, God.
He tried to get out of the vehicle, realizing that he was injured, that he was hurt, and so everybody by now is coming to the scene of the accident and tell him, no, stay in the car, we'll call the ambulance and the police. The police came, and the ambulance was called, and my father said he could hear the police officer questioning the other guy, and the other guy wasn't completely honest. And the police officer ended up, not ticketing anyone. My dad was taken by ambulance to the hospital, and he was injured, and unfortunately he's uninsured. And so he hasn't sought any further treatment because he doesn't have health insurance. And so he called me yesterday and said, I need you to help me find a lawyer. I don't know what to do. Looking at the police report, nobody received a ticket. So he went ahead and called, I think the insurance company was State Farm, and reported the claim, but he hasn't had any further activity. And so
And he doesn't have insurance on his car?
No, he has insurance. He had liability coverage on his vehicle.
He has liability on his car?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Just wanted to see where we are. All right. So he's at the hospital now, or
no? This was in September. He was taken by ambulance then. He was released that day, but he was injured on the scene. He
Gotcha.
He had pain in his hip and his neck.
Okay.
Well, there are a lot of issues that come to rise on this immediately. Police are often going to see if someone stalled out because of mechanical failure or whether they stalled out because they ran out of gas. If somebody runs out of gas, they often will get a ticket because they'll say that's something that should have been avoided. If somebody has unexpected mechanical failure and they stall out and they can't get the vehicle off the road, then usually they don't ticket them. And under those facts, oftentimes the insurance companies will deny the claim on both sides. They wouldn't allow the stalled out vehicle to have a claim, and they wouldn't let him have a claim. There's also the factor of whether or not they had their hazard lights on. I don't know what time of day it was, the speeds involved, but adjusters
But if she wants to have her claim evaluated, I mean, could they contact you? I mean, because I guess the question was, her father said, we really need to find an attorney. And she's got this very fact-specific case. Could they reach out to you and, go and email you and get a little bit of your time and have you say, yes, you have a claim here, or no, you don't have a claim? Would that be okay?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
In fact, I welcome anyone to call who has an accident like that, because the facts can change. So the whole outcome, whether you have a claim or not, is so fact-specific that you really have to have almost an interview when you have cases like that. Now, if it's a rear-end collision or if someone turns left from a side street, usually the police are going to ticket the party that was at fault. But in claims like that, I mean, it could go either way. So we'd really need you to call the office.
Sounds real sticky, too.
What do you do if somebody lies to the police and they don't tell them the truth? Like she said that her father said the other party wasn't truthful.
Well, that's where the witness that we talked about earlier, I mean, if you have a witness to nail down exactly what happened, then the police are often going to ticket that person, and the police he's going to reach a conclusion on that report who he thinks was at fault. The witnesses are the key, because if it's a swearing match between the two drivers, oftentimes the police officer will say there's no way to know who's at fault.
If you have a camera on hand, like everybody got a digital or cell phone camera, would it be to your advantage to start taking some of your own pictures?
That is a great point, and that is something I definitely recommend. You should keep a digital camera or your cell phone handy. If you get in an accident, take photographs of the position of the vehicle when the accident occurred. Take pictures of all the property damage that was done. And I've told people that it's not a bad idea to keep chalk in your car, because you can outline the vehicles where they were at. And if you do that,
we'll be back with more Auto Scoop. Richard Griffin is here to help you.